What was God doing before creating the world? The shocking truth revealed at 3 a.m. The clock struck 3, a time when shadows lurked, and the world lay steeped in darkness. For the restless that night, a simple question lay heavy: what was God doing before he created the universe? It felt like a whispered secret carried on the chilly winds of midnight, pulling at the edges of sanity. Every rustle of leaves outside echoed with anticipation, as if the universe held its breath, waiting to reveal its monumental truth. Beneath the white glow of the moon, you could almost sense a flicker of something otherworldly. As the chill crept in, the air thickened with tension. There were tales, odd stories of others who had ventured into this existential maze. A girl from a neighboring town swore she saw figures materialize from thin air, beckoning to her from the ancient oak tree. They whispered in a voice so soft it made her bones tremble. People talked of strange lights flashing across the sky, flickering like a heartbeat. Each account, each detail twisted reality into something more terrifying than fiction. In the heart of a nearby village, on that very night, people gathered in hushed tones, their eyes wide with fear as they recounted the events of the previous full moon. An inexplicable fog had rolled in, heavy and dense, smothering everything in its path. Children vanished into it, only to reappear hours later, eyes glazed and vacant, failing to speak of what lay beyond. The elders spoke of omens and unholy visits, warning that the return of the night's shadow, when the clock tolls 3, could awaken something that should remain hidden. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Back at the edge of the village, a group of brave souls decided tonight was the night they'd uncover the truth. They stood, heartbeats racing, staring into the opaque gloom. Something shimmered just out of reach, a faint glow at the old church where the rumors ran thick. Was it hope? Was it madness? A creaking door slowly swung open, inviting them into an unknown darkness, and just as quickly as they hesitated, the ground beneath them shifted. What was waiting for them inside the echoing hall could change everything they thought they knew. Would they discover the truth behind God's silence? Or would they unleash something unspeakable? The air crackled with dread, and their feet moved as if they were climbing a treacherous mountain, leaving everything they knew behind. The night whispered secrets yet to be revealed, shrouding everything with an unsettling mystery. The door creaked wider, revealing an unsettling darkness that felt as if it were alive, pulsating with a heartbeat of its own. The group hesitated, peering into the gloom ahead. Each of them battled their instincts to flee. Was it bravery or foolishness that kept them rooted to the spot? They shared nervous glances, each silently questioning whether their curiosity was worth the risk. With a deep breath, Tom stepped forward, a flickering candle in hand, its flame dancing obediently in the still air. "We have to know," he whispered, his voice barely breaking the silence. The others followed, a reluctant parade into the maw of uncertainty. Their footsteps echoed against the cold stone floor, a haunting reminder of their fragility. As they moved deeper into the church, shadows darted just out of sight. Sarah felt her heart race. Something beyond the veil of darkness was watching them. Was it the tales of the elders that clawed at her mind, or the unnerving sensation that suffused the air like smoke? She tightened her grip around her friends, desperate for connection amid the growing fear. The flicker of the candle illuminated fading murals on the walls, their once vivid colors now melancholic ghosts of what they once were. They depicted angels and demons locked in battle, their faces contorted in expressions of fury and despair. The congregation had once worshipped within these walls, and now they felt like an intrusion into a forgotten world. Suddenly, the candle sputtered, its light threatening to extinguish. A gust of wind swept through the church, rattling the windows and throwing Sarah and the others off balance. A chill settled deep in her bones. Whispers began to rise, soft at first, then slowly crescendoing into an echo that reverberated through the hall. Words blended and twisted: return, dare, eternal. Did you hear that? Marco gasped, his eyes wide as he strained to listen. Maybe we should turn back, whispered Leah, her voice trembling. Not yet. We can't go now, Tom insisted, pushing forward, driven by a force he couldn't grasp. As he reached the altar, cold stone beneath his fingers, he felt a strange energy surging through him. The whispers transformed into forms, shadows that swirled like smoke, beginning to coalesce into recognizable shapes. Each figure that took form sent shivers down their spines. They looked ethereal, with eyes full of despair and unfulfilled promises. The air vibrated, heavy with emotions that twisted from hope to fear and back again. Why are you here? One shadow spat, its voice drenched in sorrow. You seek the truth, yet the truth is not for the faint of heart. With those chilling words, the ground trembled, a low hum vibrating through the church. The flames of the candle surged, illuminating odd symbols beneath their feet that they hadn't noticed before. A sickening realization hit Sarah: they weren't merely trespassers, they had awakened something ancient and powerful. Stop! You don't belong here! Cried Marco, panic spilling over as he stepped back. But it was too late. The shadows surged forward, and the group huddled together in fright. They had sought answers, yet what lay ahead felt like the edge of a bottomless pit. Could they truly comprehend what they might unleash? As the shadows closed in, Sarah's heart raced at the thought. They were standing on a precipice between revelation and ruin, and the weight of their choice bore down on them like a thundercloud. In that moment of dread, a chilling thought crept into Sarah's mind: what if the very foundation of existence hinged on their decision? As the fabric of reality twisted around them, a blinding light exploded from the altar, and the shadows froze, suspended in chaos. Was this light salvation or doom? The truth was about to reveal itself, and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that their lives would never be the same again. What lay beyond that blinding glow? The group, standing on the brink of the unknown, had to decide: dare they push forward, or would fear hold them captive? The light enveloped them, a searing brilliance that felt both warm and terrifying. Sarah shielded her eyes, heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The shadows writhed as if in pain, their forms blurring and then solidifying again, caught between the realm of the living and something far more sinister. Tom, what do we do? Leah cried, her voice a mix of desperation and fear. The fear in her eyes mirrored what they all felt: a primal instinct to flee this supernatural force, yet an equally strong pull to uncover the secrets hidden in the church's depths. I don't know. Tom shouted back, anger flaring in his voice as he fought to maintain control. We can't back down now. Back down? Marco sneered, incredulity and dread warring in his expression. You think we did this? We didn't ask for anyone or anything to wake up. The figures, now partially illuminated by the blinding light, seemed to draw strength from their turmoil. One shadow, a twisted vision of an elder, leaned closer, its voice a spine-chilling whisper. Your fear feeds us. You seek the truth, and yet you shudder in its wake. Sarah felt her stomach twist. These were not celestial beings, guardians of the light, but vengeful spirits, trapped in this haunted expanse, and they were hungry. We need to leave. She pleaded, gripping Tom's sleeve. No. We need answers. He insisted, the flickering candle still burning but struggling against the oppressive aura of dread that hung heavily in the air. The light began to pulse, its brilliance shifting from white to an ominous crimson hue. The shadows hissed, melting into the altar's edge, their trembling forms more potent now than ever. Sarah felt something electric, raw and terrifying fill the space between them. What do you want? Tom called out, his voice steady but trembling. What are you? What do you desire from us? Desire? The elder's shadow replied, voice dripping with malice. We were forsaken, left to rot in the echoes of their abandon. You, who have stumbled into our domain, hold the key to our release or eternal confinement. Sarah's heart sank. This wasn't about mere curiosity anymore. They had unwittingly become part of a game far bigger than themselves, one that played with the boundaries of life and death. Marco shook his head, his palms sweaty. We can't be part of this. Just let us go. He stepped back, but the altar trembled again, and Sarah felt a pull rooted deep within the earth, as if the very foundations of the church were both imprisoning and inviting. Suddenly, the light flickered violently. Images flashed before their eyes, visions of despair, pain, ancient rituals, and unending darkness, followed by glimmers of hope, flickering like dying embers. Each image crashed against her mind, robust emotions flooding her. They offer us a choice, Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. But what if the cost is too high? Everything has a cost, the elder spat, its voice sinister but strangely alluring. What will you sacrifice to know the truth? Tom hesitated, the question dangling like a noose around their necks. The intensity of the moment sharpened, igniting a primal fight-or-flight response in each of them. Decide. The shadows howled, their voices blending into a cacophony of anguish and rage. But before they could respond, the ground heaved. Power surged from the altar, shaking the very air around them. What they had awakened demanded more than they could fathom. The candle flickered wildly, its flame sputtering one last time, then extinguished. Total darkness swallowed them, and the world spun wildly. An icy grip wrapped around Sarah's throat, choking her breath. And then, silence. What happened? Marco gasped, his voice trembling in the pitch-black void. Oh, our choice, what was it? Leah managed to utter, her eyes wide with fear, but in the silence, a question loomed large: what price would they pay to uncover the truth? Then a whisper threaded through the darkness, soft and sinister: the game has only just begun. The air thickened with a stale coldness that pressed against their skin. Sarah struggled to breathe as panic clawed at her throat. She felt the darkness wrap around her like a suffocating shroud. Tom, her voice broke. What are we supposed to do? Stay together. Tom shouted, but his voice sounded weak in the consuming void. A low murmur echoed through the darkness, the same sinister voice that had taunted them moments before. Your choice is made, or perhaps it is made for you. The words dripped with mockery, wrapping around them like chains. Sarah's heart raced. What does that even mean? She shouted into the emptiness, but only silence answered. A sudden tremor split the ground beneath them, and with it came an overwhelming sense of dread. The altar's power surged once more, sending a jolt through their bodies. Then a flicker, just a breath of light, illuminated the space around them. With the brief glow, visions swarmed their minds. They saw the church as it once was, vibrant with life, brimming with laughter, and then a slow decay, a grim descent into oblivion. The figures from before writhed at the edges of this vision, faces twisted in grief and agony. Do you see? The elder shadow's voice came again, slicing through the light and grasping at Sarah's mind. This is what happens to those who forget us. What do you want from us? Marco asked, his bravado fading fast. Sarah could hear the tremor in his voice. Your resolve. Your connection to the world outside. The balance must be restored, the voice hissed. It all hinges on your next move. The ground shook again, more violently this time, and a fragment of fear twisted into their hearts. Somewhere deep in Sarah's mind, she felt the weight of a strange understanding. They were caught in a cycle. Their desires fed the shadows, but what did the shadows offer in return? She could feel the uncertainty swell in the air, a palpable thing. I just want to go home. She cried, her voice echoing back to her, empty and lost. The truth or freedom? The elder's whisper droned on, the words wrapping around her like tendrils. A flicker of light flashed again, brighter this time, illuminating the twisted forms that danced just beyond her reach. They were locked in this space, prisoners of choices yet to be made. Sarah's chest tightened. What if we refuse? You have no choice. The shadows howled, their voices merging into an agonizing scream that threatened to splinter her mind. Then, in that moment of clarity, something within her snapped. No! She shouted, defiance surging through her veins. We choose our own fate. The ground roared with laughter, a cacophony that rattled her bones. So bold, so foolish. Just as abruptly as it began, the vibration ceased. Silence swelled back, settling like dust. But in that stillness, fear turned to cold realization. Leah gasped, what if it's already too late? The very walls felt like they were closing in, and before Sarah could respond, a blinding flash surged forth, engulfing them again. Sarah could feel herself being torn in different directions, a conflict between dread and curiosity. Answer us! Marco yelled, but the shadows only laughed soft, like the rustle of 1,000 whispers. Then, as quickly as it began, the light snuffed out once more, plunging them deeper into despair. The uncertainty hung thick like a rope, and doubt crept in once again, and through the shadows, a thought curled so slowly it felt like the very heart of darkness was whispering, you are far from unscathed, the true cost is yet to be revealed. As that last word lingered, something shifted in the darkness, and Sarah sensed a presence behind her, one ancient and vast. It loomed closer, and she felt a sensation that was both pull and push. What could it mean? The answer loomed, just out of reach, wrapped in shadows and fraught with consequence. Are we really ready to uncover what lies beneath? But before she could dwell on it, the shadows ignited with fervor, demanding their response. The shadows trembled with a life of their own, swirling and darting like frenzied creatures. Each gasp for air felt like a betrayal, a reminder that they were all still trapped in this hellish prison of indecision. The darkness seemed alive, pulsating with an energy that both terrified and beckoned them closer. Don't look away! Leah shouted, grabbing Sarah's arm, her grip firm and desperate. If we stay focused, maybe we can. Before she could finish, the ground split beneath them. A fissure appeared, jagged and black, like a wound in the earth. A shriek echoed from the depths, spiraling upward to fill the void around them. The sound was raw, a tortured howl that spoke of despair. Listen! Tom yelled over the chaos. We can't ignore this. We have to confront it. Sarah felt the pull of emotion flood her chest. Confront what? The shadows answered with laughter, deep and resonant, reverberating through the air. Foolish mortals, you have no clue what is brewing beneath the surface. You're merely pawns in our game. A bolt of fear shot through Sarah. The ground rumbled again, a low growl, and something dark began to rise from the crack. It was a figure, a towering silhouette cloaked in shadow, nothing but a maw of darkness that seemed to devour the very light around it. Enough! Marco screamed, his voice cutting through the cacophony like a knife. What do you want from us? Sacrifice! The figure coiled its monstrous voice around them. You must offer something to receive something precious. Only then can the balance guide you home. A chill ran down Sarah's spine. What did that mean? What could they possibly give? What are you asking for? Sarah pressed, her voice wavering yet unwavering. The shadow flickered, its face shifting like a broken mirror. Your hopes, your fears, your very souls. Never. Tom spat, rising to his feet, trembling but fierce. We won't give that to you. Foolish boy, the shadow hissed, your refusal only tightens the chains you wear. A terror deeper than she had ever known gripped Sarah. What if we refuse? She dared to say, her heart pounding in her throat. Then, from the depths, a familiar voice whispered, softer and more heartbreaking than before. Sarah, it's too late. Who is there? Sarah called, stepping forward. A flash of light flickered in the distance, and for just a moment, she saw a face, her mother's, twisted in a silent scream. The darkness breathed heavily around them, the air thickened. You will never escape the choices you've made. You are bound to the past. Leah's eyes widened, and she backed away. No, we're better than this. We deserve a chance to escape. The figures on the edge of the vision shifted, their faces becoming clearer. Each one bore the weight of choices left unheeded, moments of sorrow etched into their skin. Sarah felt a pang of recognition, a reflection of their own unresolved burdens. Those are us. Marco breathed in shock. Our lives tangled in this nightmare. Yes, the shadow addressed him, its voice slithering like smoke. Each of you carries a piece of what was lost. Choose wisely, or the darkness will claim you. Panic surged anew. What's the choice? The air crackled, and the ground trembled as the shadows converged, forming a vortex that swirled with power, holding their fates in the balance. The realization hit them: the choice wasn't just about the past, it was about the future, about whom they would become. Just then, the flicker of light surged through again, momentarily brightening the ever-pulling darkness, revealing glimpses of hope amidst despair. Whatever it takes, we won't lose ourselves. Sarah shouted, shoving down her fear, trying to focus on the light. But would that be enough to break free? Or would it only lead them deeper into the abyss? The shadows howled in rage, enveloping them in cold darkness once more, and the question hung heavy in the air: what were they truly willing to sacrifice to reclaim their lives? As Sarah felt the shadows pull her again, a single thought pierced through the chaos: would they find salvation or sink deeper into the abyss of darkness? The choice lay before them, and time was slipping away. The swirling shadows intensified their grip, tightening as if the very darkness was a sentient being, squeezing the breath from their lungs. Sarah felt the weight of dread settle on her shoulders like an unwanted cloak. She glanced at her friends, their faces strained and fearful, echoing her own internal turmoil. "Don't break!" Leah shouted, her voice a war cry against the chaos. "Remember what we talked about, we're in this together." But as she spoke, Sarah felt the pull of despair like a thread unspooling within her. It was so easy to give in, to surrender to the dark. A shrill cry erupted from the fissure, a sound that clawed at their sanity. It echoed, modulating, morphing into the distorted voices of their past, reminding them of failures, regrets, and moments missed. "We have to make a choice," Marco yelled desperately. "We can't let it win." The shadow writhed in delight, basking in their confusion. "What will you sacrifice?" it taunted, voice dripping with malicious glee. "All that you hold dear is at stake." Heart racing, Sarah could hear her mother's voice weaving in and out of her thoughts. "I gave everything for you," it murmured, a deep sorrow underlying the tremor of her mental plea. Sarah clenched her teeth, battling the urge to shatter under the weight of those words. "No, not my mother. Not her!" she cried out, her voice cracking. The darkness seemed to respond, lunging closer, fingers of shadow reaching toward her, whispering promises of comfort in exchange for her memories, her joys. "Gather your strength," Tom shouted, rallying the group. "Focus on what matters. Our connection is our power." Suddenly, the ground shook violently. They were being pulled back toward that open maw, the abyss ready to consume them whole. Sarah's heart thundered like a war drum. "We need to stick together." She turned to Leah, who nodded, eyes blazing with determination. But as they united, the vortex roared, its power manifesting as bright shards of light battling against the encroaching dark. "You'll never leave this place!" The shadow shrieked, infusing the air with regret and pain. Sarah stepped forward, clenching her fists at her sides. "We will escape. We won't be victims anymore. I refuse to hand over my soul to you." The shadow recoiled momentarily, surprise flickering across its shifting face. "Brave girl, but believe me. What will be offered is not a choice you can make lightly." Amidst the chaos, Marco's voice broke through the tempest. Maybe he hesitated, grinding his teeth. "We don't need to give up anything at all. Let us stand for each other. Together." Light pulsed around them like a heartbeat. It was raw and beautiful, filled with the spark of their shared hope. For the first time, Sarah felt a connection to something greater, a sliver of power that thrummed alongside her own heartbeat. Together. They screamed in unison, with renewed strength, the light flared brighter, illuminating the shadow's features in stark relief. But that light was delicate, flickering beneath the weight of fear and doubt. Do you wish to find out what you're truly willing to sacrifice? The dark figure spat, its voice a grim echo. Then come closer, witness the truth. As the shadows began to recede, unveiling the horrors lurking beneath, Sarah was gripped by an icy terror. What awaited them was a question wrapped in shadows of its own. What was hidden in the depths? What sacrifice would the darkness demand to unravel their fate? She took a breath. The warmth of light flickered, and with every pulse, it felt like a countdown. Time was running out, and as the dark loomed larger, the group prepared for the unknown. There was only one thing certain now: whatever awaited them, it would change everything. With a shuddering resolve, they pressed forward, hands clenched, hearts racing. Would they uncover the dark truth that lay ahead, or become lost in the shadows forever? Only one step remained, and they had to take it together. The shadows quivered, the air thick with an uneasy tension as they stepped forward into a realm that felt more alive than they had ever anticipated. What lay before them was a swirling mist, thick and palpable, obscuring the truth while inviting them closer. The pulsating light flickered behind, a reminder of their connection, but its warmth was already beginning to fade. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine, an instinctual warning buried deep inside. There was a flicker of movement just beyond the fog, and she squinted, eyes straining to make out the shapes lurking in the haze. Were they illusions birthed from fear, or remnants of lost hopes? Her heart thudded against her ribs, each beat echoing the terror building within. "Do you see that?" Marco whispered, pulling slightly behind Leah, who stood firm, her gaze anchored forward. "What the hell is that?" Before he could finish, a wailing cry sliced through the air, a cacophony of voices crying out in anguish. The sound wrapped around them like barbed wire, squeezing their resolve. Leah squeezed her eyes shut, her breath hitching, but Tom's steady presence beside her anchored her back to reality. "We can't turn back now," Tom urged, his voice steady despite the panic twisting in Sarah's gut. "Whatever is out there, we'll face it together." Suddenly, the mist parted to reveal fragmented images, flashes of memories long buried beneath the weight of their lives. Sarah gasped as she saw herself as a child, laughing with her mother, light streaming through the trees, joy untainted by worry. It blurred, morphing into scenes of loss, failure, and grief. Each image struck like daggers against her heart. "What is this?" she exclaimed, her voice wavering. The darkness grinned wider, swirling around them like a hungry beast. "This is you," it hissed, each word steeped in venom. "Your past, your fears. Open your eyes and see the truth of your being." The group huddled, seeking comfort in proximity, yet Sarah could feel the distance growing as individual burdens weighed heavily on each of them. The pressure clawed at her mind, a desperate desire to shut it all out, but also an urge to push through the torment. "Look at it!" Marco shouted, pointing towards the shadows that beckoned with promises of freedom, the images playing against the fabric of the dark. "See our stories. We can't hide from them forever." "What do you mean?" Leah protested, shaking her head. "We can't give this darkness any more power." "No!" Marco cried, resolve flaring in his voice. "Not like that. We need to face this together. We'll rewrite those stories. We take back our narratives." As they joined hands tighter than before, their hearts synced, and that pulse of light surged anew, a solid beacon against the encroaching void. Sarah refocused on her fears, drawing on the strength of her friends. "I choose to remember the love in my past," she said evenly, the words strengthening her. "Not the loss." The shadows howled in fury, writhing violently as if struck. The light cascaded outward, illuminating the complex patterns of pain and joy swirling all around them. Their collective voices filled the space, intermingling courage with vulnerability. "We will not be broken." They shouted in unison, strength reflecting in every facet of their alliance. The darkness quivered, holding the space in a suffocating grip, but just as hope filled the air, a chilling truth began to emerge from the depths. It shifted, shapes coalescing, revealing figures they recognized, faces from their past, encased in whispers and shadows. Sarah's breath hitched as she gazed upon a familiar face, her mother appearing within the mist, her expression a mosaic of love and despair. "You must face the hidden truths," she murmured, barely audible over their rising heartbeat, and just like that, the darkness surged forward, as if to consume every last flicker of light. "Will you truly rewrite your stories?" It boomed, echoing through the expanse, with the boundaries of reality fraying and secrets rattling through the air. Sarah felt the pulse of fate quicken, a question hanging heavy in the air. Would they have the strength to confront their deepest fears, or had they unwittingly awakened something that could shatter them forever? As the figures faded deeper into the shadows, one final scream rose above the chaos, a single voice crying out for hope, for understanding. The group stood at the precipice, staring into the void, but one thing was certain: what they would find in the dark was just the beginning. The darkness thickened, wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, trying to block out the memories that flickered behind her lids, moments that sparked both warmth and agony. Every face, every laugh, every argument and tear flooded her mind, battling for dominance in her thoughts. "Stay focused," Tom urged, his voice steady but strained. He led the group a fraction forward, against the tide of shadows that threatened to engulf them. "We have to believe in our strength." Leah's voice trembled as she replied, "What if our strength isn't enough? What if facing this darkness only makes it worse? Then we stand united." Marco shouted back, infusing urgency into his words. "Divided, we fall. Together, we fight." Sarah inhaled, the air jittering with electric tension, and she found her gaze drawn back to her mother's face, half-formed in the mist. That expression, filled with love yet burdened with sorrow, ignited something deep within. Was it truly her time to confront this pain? To let the darkness unravel her? "Mom!" she cried into the swirling abyss, her voice trembling with desperation. "What do I need to understand?" The shadows swelled, roiling in response, and from within them emerged not just her mother, but troubling images of every regret, misunderstandings, moments of neglect, promises left unfulfilled. It hurt. It hurt deep. "Accept what you've lost to truly move forward," the shadowy visage of her mother murmured, her voice echoing like the distant calls of mourning doves. "Only then can the light return." Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. The memories, painful, raw, were part of her, entwined like vines. She pushed against the melancholy that threatened to pull her under. "I can't just accept it. I need to know." Leah cut in, her words almost a shout. "You don't need to carry that weight alone. Let us bear it with you. Let it change us all." The echo of her words reverberated through Sarah, lighting a flicker of hope. Their hands clutched tighter, a human chain that pulsed with a life of its own. Marco's voice grew louder, calling out to the void, "In sharing our burdens, we will find strength, hope, and clarity." As they chanted those words, the swirling mist began to shift, revealing fleeting glimpses of their collective fears and raw emotions. Fractured faces, lost friendships, unfulfilled dreams all hovered at the edge of their sight, daring them to turn away, but they didn't. "No more running," Tom declared, his face turning fierce. "Let us own our stories. Every wound, every laugh, it defines us." In that moment, light surged from their intertwined hands, a torrent of warmth, raw and unfiltered. It reached forward, splitting through the mist, illuminating the dreadful images that had kept them shackled for so long. The shadows screeched, recoiling from the brightness. The figures that had haunted them began to fade, dissolving into motes of light. Yet, in their place, new figures emerged, echoes of resilience, hope, reminders of the joy they had yet to experience. "Look!" Leah shouted, pointing into the radiance, her heart racing. "We can be reborn from this." But just as the light brightened, the chilling laughter of the darkness returned, low and menacing. "What makes you think this path leads to freedom?" it mocked. "You are merely scratching the surface. The deeper truth is yet to come. Beneath the collective pressure of their fear and hope, Sarah felt an icy realization creep up her spine. What deeper truths? What more could there be? The mist began swirling violently once more as if awakening a beast within their midst. Heart racing, she clutched tighter to Marco and Leah. We can't lose hope. Yet every flicker of light was met with resistance, dark tendrils reaching out to snatch it away, threatening to plunge them back into despair. As the chaos surged around them, a shadowed figure emerged once more defined than before, hauntingly familiar. It held an uncanny resemblance to someone crucial, someone from their collective past who hadn't yet stepped into the light. As the figure reached out, the air filled with an ominous silence. What awaited them beyond the veil of darkness? Would they confront yet another haunting truth, or would they finally seize the light? The ground beneath their feet trembled, echoing the heartbeat of their fear. The whispers erupted once more, dragging them closer to the brink. And in that moment, Sarah knew with chilling clarity, the next step could either shatter them all or set them free. The air grew colder as the shadowed figure drew nearer, its outline pulsating like a dying star. Sarah squinted, trying to make sense of the familiar face emerging from the darkness. The weight of recognition crashed over her like a tidal wave. Simon. She whispered, disbelief pinching her voice. It felt as if time fractured around them, seconds stretching and curling backward. The boy from her past, the one who had disappeared without a trace, the one who had haunted her every thought since that fateful day. Yes, Sarah. His voice was a whisper, yet it thundered in the charged atmosphere. You've looked for me in every shadow, haven't you? The ground beneath their feet quaked with the rawness of their shared history. Marco and Leah exchanged a glance, the slight furrow between concern and curiosity buried deep. Why now? Why here? Sarah's heart raced, her pulse echoing in her ears. You died, Simon. You can't be. I'm not just here, he interrupted softly, stepping closer, hands raised as if to soothe her. I'm a reflection of what's left unresolved. You have to confront it. You have to face the truth of what happened, and your part in it. His words sliced through the thickening mist, unraveling threads of tension that bound them all. Each syllable dripped with painful honesty, forcing Sarah to choke back her rising fear. I didn't know. I didn't know you were in trouble. Sarah screamed, frustration spilling over. Her hands clenched into fists, the urge to lash out battling the urge to embrace him once more. I never got a chance to say I was scared. I wanted to help you. Exactly, Simon replied, his voice a haunting echo. Fear kept you from acting. It paralyzed you. And in that moment, you lost me. The shadows recoiled at his words, swirling angrily, seeking refuge from the light that penetrated their dark facade. Leah stepped closer, as if assessing the weight of Simon's words. No one is perfect. We all stumble, we all carry our burdens, she urged. What happened wasn't solely on you, Sarah. But what if it was? Sarah shot back, her voice laced with desperation. What if I could have saved him? What if I could change everything, if I could just let go of this guilt? The mist twisted, dark tendrils stretching towards their hearts as if anticipating the fallout. A sharp gasp came from Tom as he flinched, feeling the heat of past regrets claw at him. Stop it. You can't allow the darkness to cloud your judgment. He shouted, tearing the moment's grip from Sarah before it suffocated her. Tell us how, then. Marco's voice boomed, desperation clawing at his throat. How do we move forward with this truth, Simon? Show us a path instead of just haunting us. Simon's figure flickered, the shadows threatening to pull him back. You must confront the pain. No more running from it. Embrace what you feel. Only then will the light guide you through the tunnel of despair. The urgency in his voice thrummed between them, raw and demanding, as the shadows whispered cruelly, reminding them of their past failures. But Sarah felt a spark, a flicker of warmth cutting through the chill. Together, she breathed, locking eyes with Marco and Leah, we'll invoke that light. We can take this pain and turn it into something powerful. We can remember Simon without losing ourselves. Just as the darkness threatened to envelop them completely, Sarah stepped forward, grasping Simon's fading form, their fingers quaking in the tension. I remember you, Simon. I won't let your memory fade away. Let us finish what we began. The air shimmered with resolution, brave defiance puncturing the silence. But an icy wind swept through them, carrying the lingering shadows and echoing Simon's name. You think you can escape? The truth will come regardless. Are you ready to face the abyss that waits? Sarah's breath caught. As a deluge of thoughts washed over her, overwhelming her senses, she willed herself to stay grounded. Would confronting the abyss unravel them all, or bind them in an unbreakable connection? As Simon's form flickered again, lost in the pull of the shadows, an even deeper dread arose within Sarah. What awaited them in their pursuit of truth? Could they handle the reality that lay behind the darkness? One heartbeat. The ground trembled again as the darkness shifted violently, waiting to reveal the darker truths yet unearthed. With dread bubbling in her chest, Sarah realized they were on the precipice. Fighting the shadows was only the beginning, the real battle lay within. And when the hidden truths emerged, would they still stand strong? The air crackled with tension, and Sarah could feel the weight of the darkness pressing down on her shoulders, thick and suffocating. Every heartbeat echoed like the tolling of a dreadful clock, and she grasped her friend's hands tighter, steeling herself for what was to come. Are you ready? Tom whispered, barely keeping his voice steady, but Sarah could see in his eyes that he felt the same overwhelming fear. Ready? Marco snapped, a hint of defiance in his tone. We've come too far to back down now. As the shadows writhed, a cold wind surged through the church, flinging open the doors and revealing the spectral figure of Simon once more. You must understand who you are to break free, he told them. His gaze shifted, each word lacing tension into the air. Only by facing your darkest truths can you hope to find the light you seek. The shadows sensed their resolve, thrumming with dark laughter and swirling violently. You can't escape. They screeched, voices overlapping in a chilling symphony. Your past will consume you. Sarah steadied herself, her pulse racing like a runner nearing the finish line. No more running, she said, enough conviction behind her words to push the shadows back a step. We can face this together. I refuse to let fear control me. Together. Leah echoed, raising her chin defiantly. In that touching moment, the air felt different, thicker, charged with a mix of fear and empowerment. As they stood hand in hand, the pulsating light around the altar flickered, illuminating the dark space in waves that ebbed and flowed like a heartbeat. How do we start? Leah asked, her voice a soothing balm against the chaos. By accepting what has happened, Simon urged, his image flickering but fierce. You each hold memories that bind you in chains. Start with the pain, embrace it, then release it. I can take the first step, Marco said, bravely stepping forward. I have regrets about friendships lost. I've let fear stop me from truly connecting with those I love. His voice cracked, but what emerged wasn't despair, it was pure, raw honesty. Slowly, memories surfaced, all those moments of laughter, friendship, and love that overshadowed the regrets. The light pulsed more strongly, beckoning them to join in. I regret the time I wasted fearing my own truth, Sarah said next, swallowing hard. I lost parts of myself by not holding on to my loved ones. As she spoke, shadows recoiled, their screeches echoing in terror, but the light lit the space more fiercely than ever. Together, we will not be defined by our fears. Tom declared, stepping beside her. I refuse to let insecurities drown me. I embrace my strength. With that declaration, they all felt that their individual fears melting away like wax from a flame, replaced by a growing warmth spreading from their hearts. Now me. Leah shouted, her voice rising higher. I will confront my vulnerability. I will accept that it's okay to need help, to lean on my friends. The shadows thrashed violently, each surge of light drawing power from their shared strength. The darkness roared, trying to devour their resolve, but their evocation of truth was palpable, a living thing. The shadows shrieked in anguish, swirling wildly as Sarah's heart raced. We are rising above you. You will not win. As they channeled their pain and vulnerability, a wave of brightness surged forth. The shadows screamed, their forms collapsing inward. They felt the weight they had carried for so long transform into a force pushing against the darkness, swelling stronger with every shared confession. Let go. They shouted in unison, voices resonating with illuminated courage. The church rocked as the pulsing light shattered the walls of despair, breaking the hold of the dark that had grasped at their souls for too long. The shadows, clawing desperately at their feet, began to dissolve, ink spilling onto the floor and dissipating into nothingness. All at once, the air inside the church erupted in a brilliant explosion of light, blinding and overwhelming. The dark was torn apart, scattered like ashes, leaving behind a vast emptiness. Filled with fresh hope, and then, silence, a heavy, beautiful silence, rippling through the vast space as the weight of regret and fear lifted. Sarah opened her eyes, heart racing but calm now, filled with the warmth of clarity and a newfound strength. She looked at Marco, Leah, and Tom, their faces aglow with the aftermath of hard truths confronted and shared burdens lightened. They were lighter, both physically and emotionally, relieved of chains that once held them down. We did it, Marco breathed, disbelief and wonder mingling in his tone. Not just us, Simon too, Leah whispered, looking towards where Simon had stood, now fading into the light, but liberating still. Thank you. Realization washed over Sarah. They had faced the darkness together. They had embraced their fears, their burdens, their hidden truths, and transformed their pain into a cohesive ally. They had set Simon's spirit free. As they stood together, floated with light and relief, laughter bubbled forth, bonding them tightly in the aftermath. A shift of the air drew them back to their tangible present, a church once enveloped by darkness now sitting under a soft wash of moonlight. It was time to step outside, no longer shackled by their past but ready to embrace whatever awaited them in the world beyond. Hand in hand, they walked toward the open doors, each step a new promise of hope, connection, and courage. In that moment, Sarah understood that the true truth lay not only in confronting darkness but in honoring every part of their journey, the losses, the love, the lessons learned. And as they stepped through the threshold, the clock struck 3 once more, but this time, it marked the dawn of a fresh beginning. You need to subscribe now to catch all the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to boost this video through the algorithm. And flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this ending, it really makes a difference. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this conclusion. Show your support, because true fans understand that together, we can rise above any darkness.